Let's talk about hurricanes. Colorado State University has issued their hurricane forecast for this upcoming season, and they're calling for a slightly below average season. They are predicting 13 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. That's category 3 or greater. On average, we see 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. So what's the reason for this slightly below average season? Well, El Nino. Right now, we're in a weak La Nina pattern, but it's expected to transition to El Nino with a strong to moderate El Nino during the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. Okay, but what does that mean? Well, when we have El Nino in place, we tend to see a much stronger subtropical high. Basically, there's a big area of high pressure that sits in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. That's where hurricanes develop and or move. When you have a lot of high pressure and a lot of sinking air, you can't get any rising air. You need rising air to get hurricanes. Also, El Nino tends to bring a lot more wind shear in the atmosphere, mostly across the tropical Atlantic. And when you have a lot of wind blowing around in the atmosphere, hurricanes can't form and develop and organize. So that's also something we have working against them. But that means El Nino is on our side. Colorado State is also mentioning slightly cooler than normal sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern Atlantic. Hurricanes need really warm water to develop, so that's another reason they're calling for a slightly below average season. While these numbers are, of course, important to pay attention to, it only takes one storm to impact you to make it a bad season for your location. If we average 14 named storms during a normal season and we have 30 develop, but every single one of them just stays in the Atlantic and doesn't impact anybody, it's considered an above average season, even though it was quiet for everybody on land. And if the opposite were to happen, let's say we had 2 category 5 hurricanes making landfall somewhere and no other storms developed at all, that's still considered a below average season. So try not to pay too close attention to the numbers. A perfect example of that is actually the 1992 season, which yes, was a very, very long time ago, but that's when Hurricane Andrew made landfall in South Florida. That was a really devastating category 5 hurricane. That was considered a below average season because there were only 7 named storms that formed that year. So try not to get too caught up in the numbers, just pay attention to the local forecast where you live and make sure you're prepared if a storm does threaten you.